My dad works in B2B marketing. He came by my school for career day and said he was a big ROAS man. Then he told everyone how much he loved calculating his return on ad spend. My friends still laugh at me to this day.
Not everyone gets B2B, but with LinkedIn, you'll be able to reach people who do. Get a $100 credit on your next ad campaign. Go to linkedin.com/campaign to claim your credit. That's linkedin.com/campaign. Terms and conditions apply. LinkedIn, the place to be, to be.
Move your career further, faster in just 2 days with a Harvard Professional and Executive Development Program. Advance your leadership skills, craft smarter business strategies, build your network, and transform how you work and think to keep your career moving forward. You'll earn a certificate and can add Harvard to your resume with Harvard Professional and Executive Development. Learn more at professional.dce.harvard.edu/Spotify.
Hey, I'm Ryan Reynolds.
Recently, I asked Mint Mobile's legal team if big wireless companies are allowed to raise prices due to inflation. They said yes. And then when I asked if raising prices technically violates those onerous two-year contracts, they said, "What the f*** are you talking about, you insane Hollywood ass?" So to recap, we're cutting the price of Mint Unlimited from $30 a month to just $15 a month.
Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
$45 upfront payment equivalent to $15 per month. New customers on first 3-month plan only. Taxes and fees extra. Speed slower above 40 gigabytes. See details.
Welcome to Book Talk for Book Talk, a literary podcast where we have been deep diving into your favorite novels.
This is Jack.
And I'm Amy.
This summer, we are talking to some of our and TikTok's favorite authors. In our Summer of Love series, we'll be chatting with best-selling authors about their books, characters, and more. Explicit language, as well as themes of sex, violence, abuse, death, and depression will recur throughout this podcast. Listener discretion is advised.
Emily Rath is an international best-selling author of fantasy and romance. Her works include the Amazon International best-selling Jacksonville Rays hockey series and the Second Sons Regency romance series. She currently lives in Florida with her husband, son, and cat. They regularly comb the local beaches looking for shark teeth. Welcome, Emily.
Welcome.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much for joining. We were chatting a little bit before, but like genuinely huge fans. Love it. Or as my mom likes to reference you as my dirty puck book.
Dirty puck book. I'll take it. Love it.
She loves to send me memes. So she's like, "Is this from there?" I'm like, "Yeah, it is. It is actually."
Good job, Mom.
Yeah.
Well, Emily, you're the first in our Summer of Love interview series. So we're very excited to have you and have you help kick us off this summer.
Yeah. Love that journey for me. Love summer.
I love this journey for us because I get to reread all my favorites. So for anyone who may not know, which like I find that hard to believe because you've been in my life for so long, but tell us about yourself and how/when you got into writing. And did you always know that you're going to be a romance author?
I'm definitely the kind of person that all through my life, earliest childhood, I'm a storyteller, right? Of like, I am a words person, not a maths person, right? So the way that my brain thinks, everything, I just love stories. So even as a kid, my creativity always came out that way. I'm not a math person and I'm also not like an art person. Like, my gosh, don't ask me to try and draw you a beautiful picture. I can paint a beautiful picture with words. And that was always my way. So I was that kid that loved English class, loved reading, loved writing, would creative write in my free time, with friends, we would do things like we would have a notebook and it would be like, you write a page, give it to your friend, they give it to your friend, so we'd do stuff like that all the time. So it was always in me, and I was that kid that it's like, I remember senior year of high school, I was one of the only people in the state that got like a perfect score on my portfolio because instead of doing like a piece of short fiction that was 5,000 words, I did like a 50,000 word piece that was like set in the Industrial Revolution. It was
like,
my
God.
Wow.
I love that.
Like, you need to calm down. They're like the stakes couldn't be lower. Take your distinguished and stop. So So that was kind of how it started. But then when I went into college, I really transitioned into other things. I say that like I fell into my other love, which was political science, international
Oh,
relations. So I kind of set the writing aside for practically a decade, and I set reading aside. When I did 5 years in my PhD program, I don't think I read a book, like a fiction book,
wow.
because you are just so consumed with having to read for work all this nonfiction, right? Like a PhD is essentially reading when you're doing political science.
Yeah.
And so I was so drained, mentally, emotionally drained all the time. I didn't read for like 5 years. So I missed like the first boom on Book Talk, the first boom of
Mm.
all these different, when monster romance really started to kick off and like all this fun stuff. I was just in a hole. And so it wasn't until I graduated my PhD and started writing on my own. I started writing during my PhD process, but then really taking myself seriously as a writer and as wanting to be an author, it came towards kind of the end of my PhD and then entering into my teaching job at university, that it was something that I just kind of fell back in love with it. The pandemic had a lot to do with that, of like lots of free time, world's on fire, want some joy. So
Yeah.
that's how my Regency books came into being, was just like, I want to escape into a world of Elizabeth Bennet having her cake and eating it too.
Yeah, love it.
That's learning for me this pandemic. So that's kind of what happened there. But yeah, it's been a long process. It's been a long process of figuring it out, exploring. I started wanting to do trad books. So I was kind of like, I'm going to be a YA fantasy author. So I did some books there, made some progress, ultimately shelved them and changed directions. If you would ask me, did I ever see myself as a romance author? No, right? Like teenage Emily, high school
Yeah.
Emily, even at the beginning of this
Unless the
journey.
Industrial Revolution was a lot spicier than I realized. That's
No, yeah. Yeah. So the romance piece really kind of came out as a symptom of me wanting some joy in the period of the pandemic, of like, we're just going to go unhinged. Like
yes.
Austin is like, she would love this, of like, girl, get it,
Yeah.
So it's like, yeah, we're going to have a lot of fun. And then it's just rolled from there.
Wow. You have a PhD?
I
Oh
have
my
two.
Oh,
Emily. Oh my God.
It feels like there's literally no way to say it and not sound like a pretentious asshole. So you just have to say it. I have two.
No, it's
that's
the
amazing.
Yeah, I'm like, damn, that's the hottest thing I've heard. Wow.
Yeah. So it's like I have two of each. I have 2 masters and 2 PhDs.
That's amazing. So I also work in university, and so I understand. I'm on the administrative side and not the teaching side. So, but I have a huge respect for you going through that process. I know what it takes to get a PhD. I've seen so many people in my life do it and decide to write on the side. Like, I don't have that kind of stamina. I'm so impressed.
Yeah. Well, the writing really took off when I was doing my dissertation research. I was living in sub-Saharan Africa. So I was living in Malawi, and it's one of the poorest countries in the world. They have internet. It's incredibly expensive. And so if what you're used to is this lifestyle of like Netflix at night, like I'm going to hang out, I'm going to watch TV, I'm going to, just like rot my brain with the same shows over and over. And, my husband and I quickly realized, like, we will go broke. We will starve if we keep using internet at the rate that we're using it. And so like where I was on the continent, Malawi is the kind of place where it's like, it gets dark early, like pitch black, like by 6 p.m. you're like lights out pitch black.
Wow.
And so for me and my husband being these night owls, you'd be like, well, I've got till 1 a.m. What am I going to do for all these hours of night where everything has shut down? And so I just fell into writing stories. Like, I can't watch them, I'm going to write them. And so then, it just went from there of like, I was just writing all night into the night. And then was like, I think I could sell these,
That's the most pure form of storytelling, because isn't that how it all started, right? Is that, people wanted to entertain themselves and the people around them, and you were in a position to like have it really be from the heart like that.
Yeah, it was just joy. It was just joy. It was what I wanted to feel. It was what like I needed. I have such a cinematic imagination, and so I love consuming media. I'm constantly consuming books and TV and movies. So to not have that is just like, now what? And so I was like, it's all in here. I will make my own entertainment.
It also makes so much sense that you have a PhD, because even though it was in political science, reading your books, it's so well written and it's fun and everything, but like I was like, do people realize how well written these are? And it's, even though that's like you didn't get your PhD in literature, but I think it still applies. Like you had to spend a long time writing a lot of
I've done
dissertations.
a lot of writing. Yeah, I've done a lot of writing. Yeah, so I think it definitely helps the transferable skills, right? The things that you don't expect. Like my PhD in political science really helps me write hockey smut.
Yeah.
Like it's all coming together. Everything on my journey has mattered to bring me to this point where now because of the success of Pucking Around, it's been about a month now that I set that aside. I quit that job. I'm no
Wow.
longer a university professor. I'm pursuing this full time. So that was really hard. That was a very, very difficult process because I love it. I love being a professor. I love teaching, but it was completely unsustainable. I was doing both of these full time, full speed ahead.
Yeah.
Way too much work.
It was for like 4 years, and it was reaching a point where it's like I will implode like a dying star if something doesn't give here. So I'm very, very blessed. Sad, there was a grief process I went through, but I'm very blessed that I have this opportunity now to have a bit of freedom and to be a storyteller, right?
Yeah.
Which that kid, the kid writing all these stories gets to live now,
Yeah. That's,
really
I
fun.
mean, you're living the dream from our points of view. And I think the beauty is as you continue to write and have success, there's always adjunct opportunities, right? That if you ever wanted to go back and teach writing. And I'm sure people would love to learn from you.
Yeah. A huge inspiration for me in my journey has been like Brandon Sanderson. And he has his whole creative writing classes that he does that are available on YouTube. I watch those religiously every year that he does them. I watch them again, even when it's repetitive information.
Oh, okay.
He demands that BYU make them publicly available. So you can watch, you don't get all the pieces of it, but his lecture pieces, they're always every year publicly available on YouTube. So there's multiple years worth of him going over all of that. And so it's wonderful. It's a wonderful resource. And I love teaching. I always joke, like, you can take the professor out of the university, but you can't take the professor out of the professor. Like I can't help myself.
Amy and I met in college where we both did our bachelor's in creative writing. And then later on, I did my master's in comparative literature. Amy did hers in higher education. But we just did not have good creative writing teachers. They were so mean. And it was more about tearing you down and all these other things. And I feel like there's better teachers out there now. And there's better messages out there. And I don't know, I feel like it helps that it's online and it's like, you can't tear me down personally now.
Yeah, it's almost kind of nice when there is that digital wall so that you can be getting that content and you can be absorbing it. And I feel like so much of the writing process is there's so much noise out there and there's so much advice out there and there's so many people talking about their process and what works for them. And I feel like the big piece of advice that mattered so much to me was like, take what works, leave the rest. Everyone is so different. So it's like, take what works for you and just leave the rest. It doesn't matter. Write what's going to bring you joy, write in a way that works for you, leave the rest.
I love that you keep bringing up joy because I can feel that in your stories. And I can feel that in your characters because at least, especially in Beautiful Things, which is what I read most recently, like Rosalie's just about pursuing joy. She wants her joy to be fulfilled. And it makes your characters feel like more than just tropes. They're personable and relatable. And, do you have a process to making them that way? Or is it really about just speaking from the heart for you?
Yeah, I think there's layers. You always want to try and think of the layers that you bring to a character because it was funny with Rosalie. That was the first book that I published. It definitely wasn't the first that I finished, but it was the first that I published. So many people, right? This is the first book they've ever read from me. I'm brand new. They don't know me. So many people were like, she's a write-in. The author wrote herself in. And I was like, we could not be more different if we tried. Like, you don't know me if you think this is a stand-in. But so it's like, it's a layered effect. It's a layering effect that you do of, I have such a cinematic imagination. So they are real to me. And so I think that that helps. Like I have several friends that are authors that they not only read with white room syndrome, they write with it. Of they're like, when I read, I'm not picturing anything. I'm just reading the words and absorbing it. When I read, I'm literally having a cinematic experience. When I write, there are moments where it's like, I feel like I can literally step inside my own head and move around the scene.
Yeah.
I could like pick things up and move them on the table. That in and of itself is just like I don't know how you teach that. I think it's just a way people's imaginations work. So that's one layer. Another layer that you do is just giving them not only physical qualities, qualities in their manners of speech, qualities in the way that they move, talking with their hands, stuff like that. But then also just layering in like personality, right? Personality, backstory. If I have them be a POV character, they're going to have all these layers, right? Especially with things like why chooses, something that always frustrated me, particularly with men. I love, love, love writing my POV men. I feel like so often in why chooses, the men are two-dimensional. They exist only to move her plot forward.
Yep.
So the men are two-dimensional. Sometimes the most you'll get from a man is like, he's the one with tattoos and green eyes and a bad attitude.
Yeah.
You know, and the other one is like, he's the dom with spiky blonde hair, but really a cinnamon roll. And that's all you get, you know? And so they just exist to make her story move. And I don't like that. I don't enjoy that. I really feel like if you're getting a POV, you better be doing something. And so I give them all depth. I give them all their own arcs. I give them backstory. I give them emotional quirks and, you know, all these different things. It makes length for the books. So when you do that, you're adding, it's threads you have to tie up. It's length that you're adding. But I feel like it adds to this feeling of they all start to feel so real.
Yeah.
You know? But it is a process for sure.
I really see that with Pucking Around because, you know, like when I go searching for a book, like sometimes I'm in the mood where I'm like, I have a very specific trope I want. But at the same time, you read these characters and they become two-dimensional. But what I loved about Pucking Around is like, sure, you have like, you know, your moody boy and you have your golden retriever, but there's so much more than that. And otherwise, I wouldn't be able to hang around for 700 pages. Like that just, you wouldn't be able to have an audience stick around because although the spice scenes are immaculate, it is still the characters that get you through the whole thing.
Yeah. The characters and the arcs that they're on.
Yeah.
And, you know, I think there are so many white chooses that I love that have very thin A plot, you know, of like one of my favorites, like I will criticize it / love it. Don't you dare take it from me until I die. The MK series, right? The Madison Kate series is the first white choose series I ever read. It has the thinnest possible A plot of she has a stalker. And we carry that for 800,000 words. All of this other stuff happens with the emotionality of the romance, but it's like the plot is she has a stalker.
Yeah.
So it's just like, but what you're talking about is like you get hooked into the characters. You get hooked into the characters and the emotionality and all these things. And so people just keep reading. And like I realize I get to the fourth book and I'm like, oh my God, the plot hasn't changed yet. But I'm like, I love it. So yeah, there's something about that sometimes that like when done right, when those characters come alive, it's like you just want to stay in the world.
Yeah. So you have amazing range, like with your characters and developing them, but also the type of books that you write. You have your Regency era, which Amy is a total sucker for Regency era, and sports romance, which I mean, the hockey world that I have fallen into now, and thanks to your book. And but like what other romance genres do you foresee yourself exploring in the future?
Yeah, so I have the Regency. I do have a standalone Omegaverse as well. So that floats out there. That's Whiskey and Sin. I published that last year. It was a very kind of like quiet publication. I basically wrote it in a period of trauma healing I didn't know I needed. Wrote this beautiful, I call it my sad boy fall book. It was fall. I was sad. They were sad. They heal each other and they healed me. It's wonderful.
I promise to read it in the fall. I'll make it sure. So it's like, you know, the right setting.
So that's the romance. And that was an Omegaverse, right? So that's kind of another one that I threw in there. I have a couple of other stories that are coming that are in the works. I have a Finnish fantasy, Finnish mythology fantasy romance.
Ooh.
That's a duology. That's going to be. I can make it. Do you want some like exclusive?
Yes, please. Yes.
Book Talk for Book Talk exclusive. That will be my first Trad Pubbed book series. So that is coming. We're going to be announcing that deal very soon. But so that's going to be coming to the trad market. That will not be in indie book. But so that's a Finnish mythology dark. It deals with the Finnish death mythology. Super fun. I call it like Buy Girls with Axes. It's these two best friends go on the adventure of a lifetime as one of them gets taken to the Finnish underworld and the other does everything she can to get her back.
Oh my God. Sign me up. I love this.
Fun. Yeah, so it'll be dark magic, death magic, swoony adventure. That'll be the Finnish one. I also, in September, I'm going to Egypt and I'm going to be doing some research. I'm going to do my Ode to the Mummy, which is like one of my all-time favorites.
Oh my God, the sexual awakening every single human had to that movie.
Yes. So just imagine what Emily, right, the queer character-driven Emily will be able to do with a 1930s swoony epic adventure, Egyptology, treasure hunting book duet. So that's coming as well. So that's kind of sticking with historical and kind of that adventure romance. That will be a why choose. So yeah, that's going to be a ton of fun. Yeah, I've got a lot of ideas. I want to do a monster. Depending on how everything rolls out, I have this idea. She sits like right up here in the front of my head for a more like novellas, really trying to keep it short. Or like short for me, what, like 80,000 words? But it would be, I am thinking three books. It would be called the Dukes of Hell series. And it would be kind of like my ode to True Blood and then have it like monsters. So like
I love True Blood.
Camp, dark, funny, ridiculous. Like, oh my gosh, I'm going to die.
I love True Blood so much.
Yeah. I would love to see if I could get one out this fall, but I don't know. I've got a lot on my plate.
I know. And you have the follow-up too to Pucking Around coming out also.
Yeah, I have. Yeah. Pucking Wild is going to come out in August. I'm almost done with the first draft of that. And then it will be editing basically for a month and a half.
Yeah.
And then I have another, the Queer and Cute anthology comes out this week, actually. June 30th, the Queer and Cute anthology. I'm one of the contributing authors to that. And that is going to have a piece of short fiction, 5,000 words. And it's the whole book, Queer and Cute. It's queer meet cutes. So the whole book is just like cute, fluffy, queer love for the month of June.
Yes.
And so I'm doing the meet cute moment for Harrison and Somchai. So if you've read the Raise series, Harrison is Rachel's twin brother.
Okay.
So this is set about 3 years before Rachel's book.
Oh my God.
And it's the moment when Harrison first meets Somchai at his Thai food truck. It's so cute. It's so cute.
Oh my God.
Queer boys being queer. It's so cute.
I love it. Your Pucking Wild, it's like a reverse age difference, which I haven't read a reverse age difference. And she's 33, right?
Yeah. She's 33.
I'm 33, so in honor of your book coming out, I lowered my age range on my dating app. And I was like, if Emily said so, then all right, that's what I'm doing.
It's acceptable. Yes. So she's 33 and Sweet Puppy Ryan is 22.
Oh, I didn't realize. I'm going to have to lower my age range more then in honor of you.
What we find is he's a mature 22, right? Like that's kind of one of the angles I try to talk about of, not that all hockey boys are mature, but when you actually look at, when you are making a career in the NHL or just making a career in hockey, these boys kind of have to grow up young, they're often moving out and living across the country or sometimes even in other countries when they're like 16. If they're going to make it in junior leagues, they're getting drafted when they're 18. By the time they're 22, they can even be in like the quote unquote middle of their NHL career.
Yes. Yeah.
Crazy.
So they're these multimillionaires doing endorsement deals. They've been living independently, handling themselves since they're 16, so there's very much a sense of like age is just a number.
Yeah.
That you hear like a guy's like 22 and it's like, well, life experience counts for a lot. What has he dealt with in his life,
We interviewed before Ben Mercer, who is a former professional rugby player and turned author, and who He's pretty handsome, so if you ever need inspiration, go look him up. But he talked about that with us of how he was like 28 and having to think, well, my career's almost over. What am I doing with my life? It's just like they have to be super aware of all of that and what do they do for the rest of it.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's kind of a theme that I bring out with Ilmari as well in
Mhm.
my book.
Yep.
He's 30 and Rachel's like, you're at the end.
Yeah.
Like, this end for you. You'll maybe get 2 more years, maybe 4 if you're lucky, and we both know you won't be lucky. So then it is this sense of like, who are you going to be for the next 50 years?
Yeah.
Because this career is over,
Yeah.
So yeah, it is tough. It's hard to, and from everything I've researched, the careers, it's almost like they're getting shorter, like they're starting earlier and they're getting shorter.
Wow.
So you tend to not have, you have some of the standout, like someone like an Ovechkin or, like a Wayne Gretzky, who for how many years they're in the game, that's not common. That's not the experience for most guys anymore.
Fall has officially started here in Los Angeles, and that means we finally get to do fall activities.
I have been counting down the days for when I can go to pumpkin patches, maybe even hit up an apple orchard, and I get to do all of it looking super cute in my Quince boyfriend sweater.
This weather is perfect for my dark academia vibes, and I'm so excited to bust out my washable silk blouse because I'm going to be taking pictures.
Quince is known for their Mongolian cashmere sweaters from $50. And that's not all. Quince has so many other amazing things on their website.
All of those items are priced 50 to 80% less than similar brands.
That includes leather jackets, cotton cardigans, soft denim. Like, my entire fall wardrobe is genuinely turning into Quince wardrobe.
By partnering directly with top factories and cutting out the cost of the middleman, we get savings as the customer.
One of my favorite parts about Quince is the fact that they only work with factories that use safe, ethical, and responsible manufacturing practices. And they still manage to get premium fabrics and finishes for that, luxury feeling for every item that they have.
Get cozy in Quince's high-quality wardrobe essentials. Go to quince.com/booktalk for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. That's Quince, QUINCE.com/booktalk, BOOKTALK, to get free shipping and 365-day returns. That's quince.com/booktalk.
Move your career further, faster in just 2 days with a Harvard Professional and Executive Development Program. Advance your leadership skills, craft smarter business strategies, build your network, and transform how you work and think to keep your career moving forward. You'll earn a certificate and can add Harvard to your resume with Harvard Professional and Executive Development. Learn more at professional.dce.harvard.edu/Spotify.
Ryan Reynolds here for, I guess, my 100th Mint commercial. No, don't. I mean, honestly, when I started this, I thought I only have to do like 4 of these. I mean, it's unlimited premium wireless for $15 a month. How are there still people paying 2 or 3 times that much? I'm sorry, I shouldn't be victim blaming here. Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch. Whenever you're ready.
$45 upfront payment equivalent to $15 per month. New customers on first 3-month plan only. Taxes and fees extra. Speed slower above 40 gigabytes. See details.
Well, going back to the topic of range, it sounds like you do so much research. You're doing Finnish fantasy, Egyptology, you've done Regency, you've done hockey. What is that research process to be able to write in those genres?
Yeah, I'd say the one I've done, I still did quite a bit of research with the Regency books, but I also felt like I was most comfortable in that era and in that genre because it's been such a piece of my heart for so long. I grew up loving the adaptations of the Jane Austen work. It was, very much a bonding thing that I did with my mom, my aunt, my cousins. So we had seen all the adaptations of TVs and movies. When I was around high school, I finally started reading them on my own. And so there was very much a comfort there. And then that extended out into beyond Austen, anything Regency, I just devoured,
Yeah.
So there was very much a comfort of me feeling like I could walk into that world and know what I was doing. And I had enough of all that imagery in my head to paint it. But I did have to do quite a bit of research on things like clothing, food. I would do, I would do a lot of research trying to pull up images from historic homes so that when you would want that cinematic effect of like just how many knickknacks are everywhere all the time,
Yeah.
or, pictures on the walls and stuff like that. So I did research like that for that book, but it didn't take quite as much energy. It would often just be like, as I'm writing, it would be like, oh, what would be, a menu order? And I would Google menu orders and fall down a hole for an hour and then go back to writing. The hockey books took exhaustive research for pucking around the fact that it's two players, a former player turned equipment manager
Yeah.
and a doctor. And so much of the book centers around them actually physically playing hockey or being at the rink or engaging in the sport. Like I was having to do stuff about injury and injury care. I was having to do stuff about behind the scenes. I really wanted it to feel like it was true to life. So that was exhaustive research that I did for that. And even then you get some things wrong. Like I sent out my arcs and I realized that I was using the term stadium instead of arena. And I had several hockey people that were like, it's not a stadium. It's a rink. It's arena. It's a barn. Don't call it a stadium. It's like, oh, okay. Check. Right. So little things like that you're like, oh, I didn't know that and I'll fix it. Or like one time I had Ilmari catch a puck in his glove, drop it to the ice and shoot it back out to a player. And I had people be like, boo, no, that stops the play. It was like they caught it even in the art team. So it's like, oh, even when you're trying to be careful, that one little thing. And it's like, you caught it in 700 pages. They caught it and they pull it out and they're like, this is wrong.
Meanwhile, you're getting all these medical terms, right? You're like, you have all these, like, this is an actual injury that hockey players experience. And here's the recovery process. But that puck,
but Mars catching a puck and dropping it to the ice is like, you lost me. Yeah. So exhaustive research for that. And Egypt will be a ton of fun. I've already been doing a bunch of research for that and I'll continue to do that. I have like behind my books up on my shelf. Those are the top shelf there. That's all research. So I have several versions of Kalevala, translations for the Finnish stuff. I have a bunch. You can even see, listeners can't, but you guys can see right there. That's the Kalevala. Like, two books. So that's an illustrated version of Kalevala. So it has these beautiful pictures that have all this rich detail about, Finnish clothing, Finnish weaponry, pictures of these gods and goddesses.
That's so cool.
So yeah, I love research.
Oh, I mean, I love your research.
I think having gone through the PhD process probably sets you up to enjoy the research process, because a lot of authors are probably like, they won't know.
Yeah.
This is technically incorrect, but they won't know.
I love the research aspect too. So I love to learn, as much as I teach, like a good teacher loves to learn even more.
Yeah.
And so kind of like what you're saying with those creative writing teachers of like, you want it to be a learning process. You want it to be a collaborative process. I just love to learn so much. So if I'm able to explore these different books or learning all this stuff about hockey, before it'd be like, whatever, hockey is a sport, guys with sticks on ice.
Yeah.
But once you start to dive into it and you let yourself be open to learning, you're like, this is fascinating. Like the science of goaltending is fascinating. The technology, the way that they use their equipment, the athletic performance, so much about like psychology of sport, how you get yourself into a mental space to be able to play these games, So then you go down the rabbit hole and you're like, oh, okay, respect. Yeah. Respect. Whereas before I would have been like that, I'm not a sports girl, Now it's like, respect. That's intense. And it's really cool. A lot of the science that goes into it, science of nutrition, all of it. But you have to let yourself be open to it.
Yeah. It's perpetual homework, but in the best way possible. It's, I mean, when we are in the middle of other seasons, Amy and I the concept is like we analyze one book. We do a literary analysis, one book a season. And it's just homework, but it's fun. Like we just love it. We're like, I don't know. It's like, take the girl out of the school, but you can't take the school out of the girl.
Yeah, for sure. I love it. Anytime we're learning, anytime we're exploring, love it.
So talking about exploring different things, this is my cool transition to the next question, but a huge theme in Pucking Around is sexuality and men better understanding themselves. It's about love and desire and going against the hetero traditional norms, like you talk about bisexuality and poly relationships, which is a sensitive theme that some authors might skirt around. Instead, you really do tackle it head on and make the book feel really mature. But again, it's having so much fun. How do
Mm-hmm.
you do that? Like, it's just so incredible to be like, hey, these are heavy, real subjects, but
Yeah.
everyone's having a great time.
Yeah. I think it's so important. I feel like number one, it has shocked me when I have looked at the success of this book, Pucking Around in particular. It's been like 14 weeks now, and I am still in the top 10 of the Amazon best-selling, right?
That's amazing.
Still. It's
Wow.
amazing. It's shocking. When you think of on the surface, this is an MMFM queer,
Mm-hmm.
why choose hockey romance that's too long for the market, right? And the fact that people have embraced it the way that they have. And so for me, someone who is a queer person and wants to see more queer representation, positive queer representation of queer people just living their lives without judgment and without concern that there's something quote unquote wrong with them, and I live in Florida. If you don't
Mm-hmm.
know what is happening right now in
Yep.
the state of Florida in terms of politics in Florida, I quite literally have very dear friends of mine, trans persons, non-binary persons, fleeing this state.
Mm-hmm.
Canada has opened up asylum because of the policies that we are passing in the United States, Florida being one.
Wow.
These draconian policies. It's awful.
Yeah.
It's awful. So for me to feel like I live here in Florida, I am a queer person, a queer author living in Florida, writing a book based in Florida,
Mm-hmm.
where it is very high profile people living their best queer non-monogamous lives. I'm just like, suck it, Florida.
Yeah.
Like
taking the power
right
back.
up. I am laughing my way to the bank, and it feels so good. It feels so good because we have reached a moment in our society, I feel like, that people are ready
Mm-hmm.
to discuss monogamy and non-monogamy and whether it works for everyone the way society makes us think it should.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
We are ready to discuss in the most open way I think we ever have in our history, queerness and accepting queerness and understanding queerness. And as much as we've tried to like create all these different labels for everyone, something I love as a queer person is also this push of labellessness,
Mm-hmm.
And so what I create is this world where my characters just live.
Yes.
They just live.
Yep.
And people aren't asking them, what are you? Are you bi? Are you queer? So you have someone like Jake that's just like,
Mm-hmm.
I hate this. I hate feeling like I'm coming out, quote unquote. I don't want to be bi. I want to be with you and I want to be with her and I want
Mm-hmm.
people to leave us alone.
Yeah.
And so there's such a sense of, as much as I love the creation of labels where everyone feels like they can have a place and a space in a way they identify, there are so many of us that don't fit labels
Mm-hmm.
and don't like labels and are uncomfortable with labels, and we just want to live. And so I create that space in my book. A lot of that is self-fulfillment. I create a space in my books where their queerness is what it is. First and foremost, they are people. They are people on journeys, no matter what that looks like.
I love that as a queer individual myself, but having grown up in a very strict religious community and having to process that religious trauma as I've gotten older and accepted my own queerness, it's so empowering to read books like yours that delve into this. I mean, even just the idea of Rosalie in Beautiful Things, a woman being shared by two men, traditionally, I would be told it's demeaning. Why would you do that? Yeah, it's, anti-feminist, right? But I feel like it's so much more empowering than we've been led to believe. And about embracing sexuality and celebrating sexuality, has that always been the goal, or has that been about something you've discovered along the way that you've really wanted to incorporate?
It is something that I have sunk into as I have continued to write these books. So really, it's going to be really exciting when the world gets to see the Finnish mythology books that I told you about, because that was really the beginning of my coming out journey, to the point that one of the characters, very much, I gave her a lot of pieces of my journey of kind of realizing that she was feeling a lot more for her best friend than just love of the best friend. There's that feeling of being in love with the best friend type thing. And as I was in the early beta process of that, my cousins, two of my cousins that I'm very close with, they are my alpha/beta readers. They read everything. My cousin Ashley has been with me every step of the journey. She reads everything I ever write. She reads it first.
Oh.
There was a very awkward moment where I was in a Zoom chat, right? So this is pandemic, right? So it's like I'm in a Zoom chat with my two cousins and my author friend, Jessa Wilder. She also does hockey romance. And we're all kind of chatting about this Finnish mythology book. And my cousins were starting to push me a little bit of like, I'm a little concerned that you're bringing in these themes of bisexuality, of queerness, that you're centering your main character with this journey when you're not queer. Isn't that right? Because that was where a lot of authors were running into that of like, this isn't your story to tell type thing, right? And so they were like, could that become problematic for you? And on the side, Jess is texting me, do they not know? Right?
Oh, yeah.
Jess knew. I was living my authentic self with Jess. My cousins, I hadn't told them yet. And so I literally, as a part of me being able to complete the process of drafting that book, Jess left the call and I told them I'm queer.
Yeah.
And it was like, Siri is me. I am Siri. I am writing my story into her. And they're like, oh, okay, got it.
Yeah.
But that it became a process of writing each of my books was a journey of discovery, right? And that one is the most transformational in terms of me really embracing that of like, I'm doing it. I'm going to tell these stories authentically. And the only way I can do that is if I'm being authentic. So people need to know who I am in order for them to know what my books are about. But yeah, it's kind of like I outed myself to write that book.
That's beautiful. I mean, just I know that when we read that book, we're going to feel that. I mean, we already feel so much of what you put into your character. So to say that, you're putting yourself, that you identify so much with this heroine that you're writing, it's like, that's the kind of book that always ends up giving me chills, are the ones that you find out later where you're like, the author, it resonates so much with the author. Those are the ones that are always, I don't know, I feel like they push the emotions the hardest. And it's why an example would be like, I don't know if you read any of SJM's stuff, but Silver Flames, people feel uncomfortable with her book because it's like with Nesta, but she talks a lot about that being her journey too. And I like it. I like the ones where it's like, because those are the conversations that we need to have the most.
Yeah, I think it can definitely hit different if you know backstory or if you know elements of an author's journey that are put into it. It's a very fine line to skate, I feel like, as an author, because you don't want to just be like, this is my self-insert book,
Yeah.
So there's always ways in which you have to nuance or you have to layer, so you can take pieces of yourself and give them to characters like the Omegaverse book that I talked about. Bear is such an important character for me because it's about trauma. It's about trauma healing. It's not only about being the person that has experienced the trauma, but in the case of Bear, what his role is he's a trauma carrier, right? So he becomes the person that has to help other people carry their trauma. And that in of itself is such a traumatic experience. If you've ever had to be that person of like, I am carrying your trauma and it's too heavy for me, I can only imagine what it's like for you. And so that was such a emotional, cathartic book to write because I was putting so much of myself into Bear as the person that carries trauma and what that looks like and how you do that with grace and how you do that well, right? And I feel like I let him do it better than I've ever done it, but it was a process of like, man, this is tough.
Yeah. So you talk about yourself, like having people know about you, the author. And I think that TikTok does that fantastically, that we're able to get to know our authors a little bit better. It used to just be a name and a photo at the back of the book and, the occasional interview. But now we're seeing so much more of the personalities. And like I said, just when we hopped on, I was like, oh my God, it's your TikTok background, because love watching your TikToks. And people talk about pucking around all the time. People share your videos all the time. And I see you stitching other videos all the time. And what was your mindset, your approach to TikTok? And do you consider it a marketing device or more of a community?
It's been a process of change as I've grown. So when I first started out, just kind of flailing around, not knowing what I was doing or looking for, it was like, this is one more space to grow a community. And then when I really started to get serious with the platform, and I started to see the way some of my author friends took the platform seriously, and they essentially were telling me about the marketing potential, it switched for me, right? And so when you think about my 3 social media platforms where I am most active, TikTok is very much about marketing, right? TikTok is the kind of thing that I can have a TikTok do well, immediately see sales increases. And like within hours, boom. So if you get one that does well, a couple 100,000 views or something, it's like, there I go. Or like, I'll go to Amazon. Like there was a time where it's like, I think I had dropped down to like 11th. I had finally come out of the top 10. I was 11th in the store. And so it's like, well, there we go. That was a good run. 14 weeks. Amazing. Beyond anything I could have hoped. Right. And then I checked it a couple of hours later. Boom. I was back up to 6. And so I went straight to TikTok and was like, what happened? It was all of that drama of everything I've been doing with hockey teams of the Australian Hockey League, and then the Stinky Pinkies. They're kind of like the Savannah Bananas for hockey. The Stinky Pinkies had done a video of the guys reacting to reading my book. So their version, like already it's at like 700,000 views or something like that. So it's like, that's all it took. Boom. Jumped 7 spots before, like within hours. So TikTok is 100% about marketing and it's about driving sales. Now, you cannot just shove your book down people's throats every single talk. And so I have also engaged community. I'd say right now it's like 70-30. 70-30, it's about me pushing sales. 30, it's about me also being there, engaging and being real and being honest and talking about my life, etc. Instagram is exclusively community. I have never seen anything at this point, the way Instagram works for me. I don't see like something doing well on Instagram and it translating to sales. Instagram's where I talk to other authors. It's where I talk to artists. And I talk to, kind of like mutuals that I'm close with constantly in DMs together. And then my Facebook group is very much where I'm building out a community where we've got chats that are going all the time. And I go live in that group. I give them first looks at everything. So you kind of, I feel like in the 21st century, to be an author and to make it, you have to be savvy across these different platforms and know how to use them, especially indie authors. Trad's a different story. Indie authors, if you're not using all 3 of these platforms effectively, you're leaving money on the table. Right? You're leaving money on the table. So it's been a process. It's exhausting. The social media wing of all of this is exhausting, but also very rewarding. Like I really do love connecting with readers.
And then I'm sure it's like nice to see people reacting to the art you put in the world. Like, you've created something and people are out there talking about it. Even when people just talk about the podcast and all we're doing is just talking about other people's stuff. So like you creating and people just loving that, and you get to see their faces. That's always the part that makes me feel warm and fuzzy, where I'm like, oh, you can see the joy on someone's face reading your book.
Yeah, 100%. There's no feeling like it of like getting to watch someone tags me in a positive review where they just gush about my book or my characters. There's no feeling like it. The new frontier has been, I've had some like fan art and things like that. The crazy thing that's happened like the last 2 weeks is tattoos. People are looking around tattoos and I'm freaking out. I'm just like, oh my gosh, like that's forever. Forever. Like, I mean, I guess you could get it removed, but yeah, it's been the fandom that has kind of been starting to build, or like the way readers are already reacting to Ryan and Tess. That'll be book 2. And it's like, it's not even out yet. And I'm like, you guys are stressing me out. Like, what if you hate it? Like, I'm starting to do the imposter syndrome of like, oh my God, what if they hate it? And they're just like, I have never wanted a book more in my life.
I mean,
you need to calm down.
I mean, I didn't change my dating preference at all because of my excitement. I mean, I'm totally chill. What?
It's just like, whoo, it's a lot of pressure. It's so wonderful and it's such a gift, but it is also like, oh my goodness, it's a lot of pressure. But we're okay. Everything's going swimmingly.
I think it goes back to what you were saying earlier. You're creating joy for yourself, and thereby it's just a trickle-down effect. You're creating joy for others. And I think that's very authentic, and not a lot of people can achieve that. And we're among them.
I think there's a lot of authors out there, even very dear friends of mine, that their focus has been on the market, right? Their focus has been on, this is a money-making game. I'm chasing the market. I'm riding the market. I'm following the market. And you can make money doing that. I have several friends that they have made bank, right? They've made bank following the market. But my ethos from the very beginning has been, I follow the joy, right?
Yeah.
I have to follow the joy. And so that's where I've really, like, if I was following the market, I would not have the chaos that I have.
Yeah.
I would be narrowing down to a niche. I would only be doing sports romance. I would only be doing Regency romance.
Yeah.
But following the joy for me means that I have branded myself as my brand. That's where I have the Emily verse, fall in love 1,000 ways. I am the brand. Follow the joy with me. And that means, like, buckle in, because we're going to Egypt. And then we're going way back in time to the 1300s to Finland. And then we'll hop back up and we may get, I don't know, like the True Blood romance, a rugby romance. Who knows, right? So,
I'll give you his contact. Just, he is charming as hell too.
He can be my new contact. Like, so tell me about rugby.
Yeah.
What are the positions?
Amen to that. No, but I mean, like, it's one of those things where, there's no lane for you. There's no sticking to a lane. You're following everything that you want to do, but then it's stuff like going from Regency to sports. It's one of those mindsets where it's like, well, you can do anything and I trust you. Like,
I've had conversations of basically, I feel like I knew it was working when I had all these Regency readers, and they did take that jump with me to a sports romance. And then reading the sports romance, I have been so relieved how many readers have said, I'll read anything you write.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Of like, they trust me. I had to establish that trust. I had to get enough books out in the backlist to show them the range. And then now let's just play. Now let's just go have fun. So whether we go to Egypt or we go to Finland or wherever we go, we're just going to have fun. And they're like, I trust you.
Yeah. That must create a huge sense of security that you've got loyalty, because I'm sure a lot of authors who focus on a single genre because that's their market, and if they want to branch out, that's a lot scarier for them.
Yeah. Or even, wanting to transition into the trad space the way that I am, because I have already established this, because that's a big issue in the trad space, is they will pigeonhole you and you can get stuck. Like, I have some trad author friends that they're like, I started YA and they're trying to keep me here. They're like, I would love to do a super spicy adult romance. But the, editors and agents are just like, no.
Like, you built your audience here.
Yeah, it will disrupt your brand. And I'm just like, hi, I'm coming in with all this chaos and all these followers across all these accounts, and they'll read anything I write. Will you let me do this? And they're just like, we're going to make it work. It's like the team that's like, we're going to push out the Finnish fantasy, but it has romance elements. It's my least spicy book of all of them so far. Okay. It does have spice for sure. It has spice and romance, but I'm like, I have these readers that want a piece of this, and so they're like, they'll be in. All these hockey readers can come. We're gonna have them on the ARC team. Like, we're gonna find space for them.
I knew the moment I trusted you with writing was, so when I read Pucking Around, I had no idea it was Why Choose. And I went into it with the most like, I see people talking about it. Hockey, that seems cute. That's adorable. That's fine. And then all of a sudden I'm like, oh wait, no, I don't like angsty triangles. Like, that kind of, it stresses me out. And then all of a sudden I'm like, oh, like you're saying, like another pizza slice. And I'm like, and a third one. Okay. And then that was just I stuck around because I'm like, all right, we'll see how this goes. And then again, like, the angst came from somewhere else. It didn't come from the kind of angst that like normally like genuinely stresses me out and I just can't deal with it. It came from plot. Like, it came from development. So that was the moment where I was just like, you have me, I'm here.
Yeah, it's tough. Speaking of angst or love triangles, I'm really hopeful, like, at the point where people are going to trust me, because the third book in the hockey romance is an MFM romance, and so it does have kind of this feeling of triangle that like I've joked. I don't know how to market this thing or talk about this thing, because it's like it's MFM asterisk hashtag it's complicated.
Okay.
There will be MM, but it's not an MMF book. I swear. Just roll with me. It's MMM. You know, like trying to explain how it goes. It's like, how do I explain what I want this book to be?
I'll go with you. You know, like I told you my fears and stuff, but I'm going to have faith in you that you'll give everyone a happy ending.
Yeah, it's like it's a love triangle until it's not. Hashtag it's complicated. We're going to have so much fun. Experimentation. Like, but, so it's like, I feel like by book 3, they'll trust me, you know, and like they'll be like, just give it to us, whatever it is, we'll read it, you know. But yeah, it's like, I'm gonna have so much fun talking about like exploration, you know, exploring your queerness, exploring by curiosity, right? Of like having these boys have this moment of exploration and be like, did you like it? Like, no. It's gonna be so funny and so endearing and so sweet and wonderful, and like, I cannot wait.
Well, we are so excited for everything that's coming down the pipe for you. And thank you again so much for spending time with us, telling us about your journey. It's, you know, you're such a role model for me. And I didn't even know it until this interview. And I'm like, oh, I want to be Emily.
For someone who doesn't follow you, where can they follow you?
Yeah, so I am most active on Instagram and TikTok. Very different kinds of content, but I am active on both of those spaces. I do have a Facebook group as well that I'm very active in. Instagram, it's Emily Rath Author. TikTok, it's Emily Rath Books. And then you can get to my link tree. You can join any of my groups from there. I'm active on all 3 of those in different ways, different kinds of content. I do a lot of lives in Facebook, things like that. But yeah, all 3 of those. So by July 20th, we will have the Queer and Cute anthology piece will be out. That comes out June 30th. That's the Harrison and Somchai story. By July 20th, we will be less than a month out of Pucking Wild. So Pucking Wild is book 2. That's the reverse age gap. Tess and Ryan, so much fun. That's coming out August 21st. And so that'll be the next thing that comes out. Probably by July 20th, I would go ahead and be checking my socials. I'll have updates. I'm going to have stuff that I can tell you. I'm announcing it in a newsletter today that I have some translation right deals for the Pucking series.
Nice.
Around series. So there may be updates on those, but there's or more added to the list, but we've got Hebrew, Dutch, Italian, Spanish. Those are all coming in terms of translations. That's a lot of fun. I would imagine by July 20th, there has also been an update from me on the audiobooks for the Jacksonville Rays series. So check my socials for all of that.
I'm excited for the audiobooks.
100% audiobooks coming. There have been some delays. They are coming. So check my socials. I'm sure I will have made an update by then.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, it was such a joy, such a pleasure. And I know our listeners are going to be so excited to hear from you.
Yeah, great. Well, thank you so much for having me. Clearly, we could go on for 3 more hours. I just love it. So, yeah.
If you're ever in LA,
let us know.
I will be. Oh, well, that's something else I can add. There we go. I will be what is it called? Steamy LitCon. I will be at Steamy LitCon. So that is end of August. Steamy LitCon, that's in Anaheim. So I will be there 100%.
I am going. I had no idea. That's amazing.
Yeah, I'll be there. Yeah. So come say hi to me. Come say hi to me at Steamy LitCon. And then I will also be in October. I'll be at Lust in the Low Country in Charleston.
Okay.
So pre-order links are up for both of those. But yeah, that will be by July 20th. Next thing up will be Pucking Wild and Steamy LitCon.
Awesome.
You'll see us there, just like live, laugh, lurking in the corner.
Yeah. Love it. Yeah. That would make an amazing sticker, by the way. Live, laugh, lurk. For my monster romance. Oh, okay.
Yeah, there you go.
Well, it's going away. I'll TM you. I'll hashtag you.
Love it. All right. Thank you, Emily.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Book Talk for Book Talk. We encourage you to rate and subscribe to our show on your preferred podcast listening platform.
We would love to hear your thoughts based on today's conversation. You can submit your comments to our form at booktalkforbooktalk.com or via our Camflare voicemail system. Please visit booktalkforbooktalk.com for more information.
You can also follow us on TikTok or Instagram at the handle Book Talk for Book Talk. Bye! Fall has officially started here in Los Angeles, and that means we finally get to do fall activities.
I have been counting down the days for when I can go to pumpkin patches, maybe even hit up an apple orchard, and I get to do all of it looking super cute in my Quince boyfriend sweater.
This weather is perfect for my dark academia vibes, and I'm so excited to bust out my washable silk blouse because you know I'm going to be taking pictures.
Quince is known for their Mongolian cashmere sweaters from $50. And that's not all. Quince has so many other amazing things on their website.
All of those items are priced 50 to 80% less than similar brands.
That includes leather jackets, cotton cardigans, soft denim. Like my entire fall wardrobe is genuinely turning into Quince wardrobe.
By partnering directly with top factories and cutting out the cost of the middleman, we get savings as the customer.
One of my favorite parts about Quince is the fact that they only work with factories that use safe, ethical, and responsible manufacturing practices. And they still manage to get premium fabrics and finishes for that, luxury feeling for every item that they have.
Get cozy in Quince's high-quality wardrobe essentials. Go to quince.com/booktalk for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. That's Quince, QUINCE.com/booktalk, BOOKTALK, to get free shipping and 365-day returns. That's quince.com/booktalk.
Ryan Reynolds here for, I guess, my 100th Mint commercial. No, don't. I mean, honestly, when I started this, I thought I only have to do like 4 of these. I mean, it's unlimited premium wireless for $15 a month. How are there still people paying 2 or 3 times that much? I'm sorry, I shouldn't be victim blaming here. Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch. Whenever you're ready.
$45 upfront payment equivalent to $15 per month. New customers on first 3-month plan only. Taxes and fees extra. Speed slower above 40 gigabytes. See details.